All right, 2.4, we're talking about solving quadratic equations. Guys, a quadratic equation is where the highest exponent is squared. It makes a parabola, could be up or down. But we're going to talk about finding the roots, solutions, however you want to say it. Those all mean the solutions, roots, x-intercepts, those all mean the same thing. We're going to factor if we can and then solve it. If we can't factor it, we use the quadratic formula, which is what we're going to talk about today. All right, so look at this first one. It says to find all the real solutions, meaning we don't care if there's imaginary ones. We don't want to talk about them. We're just talking about real ones. Tomorrow we'll talk about imaginary. But if I'm going to factor this, the first thing I have to do is move 24 to the other side. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 24 equals 0. And then you just ask yourself, is there a GCF? No, this is a trinomial. So what are the factors of negative 24? That give me negative 24 when I multiply, but a positive 5 when I add. What would that be? But add to give me positive 5.
8 and 3.
Yep. What kind of 8? What kind of 3?
Positive 8, negative 3.
Perfect. Positive 8, negative 3. So when I solve x plus 8 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0, I have solutions at negative 8 and x equals 3. Two solutions. That means it's going to cross the x-axis where x is negative 8 and where x is positive 3. All right, then we're going to get, I don't want to complete square. Then we're going to get to questions where we can't factor it. It's not going to work. We're going to have to use the quadratic formula. This is the quadratic formula. I know you guys have seen this a million times. Today when you show your work, I'm going to show you exactly what I expect to see as you show your work and when we do the discriminant, okay? This little piece underneath the radical, this is called the discriminant. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But it's just the b squared minus 4ac. That's called the discriminant. And that tells us what kinds of solutions we're going to have. So on your test next Tuesday, guarantee you have a question or two to solve using the quadratic formula. And then there's going to be some questions that say, using the discriminant, what kind of solutions are you going to have? So just be mindful of that. When I talk about a, b, and c, a is the coefficient of x squared. B is the number or coefficient in front of x, and c is the constant. Remember, whatever sign is in front of that term goes with that number. So if we're looking at my first example here, it says find all the real solutions using the quadratic formula. So I'm going to write down A right here. Letter A. I want to know what the value of A is, what the value of B is, and what the value of C is. In letter A, what is A, what is B, what is C?
3.
A is just 3. What is B?
Negative.
Negative 5. And what is C? Negative 1. So when you're doing your homework tonight, I want you to show me what A, B, and C are. Then underneath it, I want you to write negative B plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. I want you guys to write the quadratic formula. And now, this is the most important step. You're filling in the quadratic formula. For my b, it's negative b. So negative 5 plus or minus negative 5 squared minus 4 times a is 3, c is negative 1, and we're going to divide all of that by 2 times 3. If you mess up a sign in this second step of your quadratic formula, everything is going to be wrong. So just double check. Make sure you have all your negatives correct. Make sure your a, b, and c have the right signs in front of them and all that. Is everybody with me? Okay,
Yes.
so now we're just going to simplify. If I have a negative 5, that gives me positive 5. Plus or minus, underneath my radical, what is negative 5 squared?
25.
Okay, so I have 25, and then I have negative 4 times 3 Negative 4 times 3
Negative 12. Negative 12.
times negative 1.
Which is positive 12.
Positive 12. And then we divide that by 2 times 3 is 6. So now I simplify a little bit more and I say 5 plus or minus the square root. What's 25 and 12?
37.
37 over 6. Can I simplify that anymore? Can I simplify the square root of 37?
No.
No. So here is my answer. I can write it like that, or you can write 5 plus the square root of 37 over 6 and 5 minus the square root of 37 over 6. I'm not exactly sure how WebAssign wants it. I don't know if they'll let you put in a plus or minus. They might make you put it in where it's two different solutions separated by a comma. I'm not sure. But there are two solutions to this equation. They don't happen to be real pretty. It's not like x equals 8 and x equals negative 3, but there are two solutions. These are two places on the x-axis that your graph will cross. Everybody understand that? Everybody okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the letter B then. For letter B, do exactly what I asked you to before, please. Identify A, B, and C. So A is 4, B is 12, and C is 9. Everybody with me? So
Yes.
write your quadratic formula, please. Negative B plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And now we fill in. So I have negative 12 plus or minus. B is so 12 squared plus 4 times a is 4, c is 9, all over 2 times 4. Make sure everything's filled in correctly. Make sure you don't miss any signs or anything. And now we're going to simplify. So I have negative 12 plus or minus. What is 12 squared?
144.
144 minus, there should be a minus in here. I don't know why I put plus. Four times 4 is 16. 16 times 9. 144?
Yes.
All over 8. So negative 12 plus or minus. What's 144 minus 144?
0.
Over 8. Guys, what's the square root of 0?
0.
Yeah, so this is just gone. This is just negative 12 over 8, which equals negative 3 over 2. How many solutions do I have here?
One.
Just one. Just have one here. How many did I have up here?
2.
Okay, these were 2 real solutions. This is 1 real solution. So tonight on WebAssign, they're going to ask you probably how many solutions and what type. Here you had 1 real. Wait, that's not for right now, right? No, I still have time. I have alarms set for when class ends because I can't keep track. All right, let's look at C. A is 1, B is 2, C is 2. So write down quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So fill in. I have negative 2 plus or minus the square root. What's b? 2. So 2 squared minus 4 times a is 1 times c is 2 all over 2 times 1. Quadratic formula is not hard. It's just a lot for you guys to write down and a lot for you to keep track of. If you don't do it, you get confused, then yes, you're going to have your answer all messed up. So you just got to take your time, pay attention to what you're doing, If I simplify here, negative 2 plus or minus, 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times 1 times 2 is 8, all over 2. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay, so I have negative 2 plus or minus, what's 4 minus 8?
Negative 4.
Negative 4 over 2. Is there a problem here?
Yes.
What's the problem?
You can't have a negative.
You can't have a negative underneath the square root. When you do, you can still, what's the square root of negative 4? You guys know what the square root of negative 4 is. We're going to talk about it more tomorrow, but the square root of negative 4. Jack Q, what's the square root of negative 4?
Plus or minus 2.
To what?
I.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
Because it's, remember, negative underneath radical? So you can simplify this, guys. You can simplify this. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 2 one times. This is negative 1 plus or minus I. Two solutions, negative 1 plus I, negative 1 minus I. But what can you tell me about these solutions? Are they real?
No.
Why not? Why not?
Because I is imaginary.
Because I means imaginary. So there's 3 types of solutions that you can get for your quadratic. You can get 2 real, you can get 1 real, or you can get no real. On WebAssign, if you come out with I's in your answer, they're going to tell you how to answer. It'll say, like, in the box, enter no real solution. Don't bombard me with emails tonight. Like, I don't know how to read the directions. I promise you the directions will tell you what to do if it's no real solution. But you'll have all these different types of problems. Well, you'll get 2 solutions, 1 solution, 2 reals, 2 imaginary, something like that. You guys have to know the difference. We're going to talk more about imaginary numbers tomorrow, but you guys have to know the difference, and you have to make sure that your math is correct as you're doing it. The discriminant is the easy part here. All right, we're going to go through this quickly, and you're going to be like, oh, these are good. I like this. The discriminant, I just told you earlier, is just the b squared minus 4ac part. It's just the part underneath the radical. It does not include the radical. But it tells you something. It says if your discriminant is greater than 0, meaning if the number underneath the radical is positive, you'll have 2 real solutions if it's positive. The first example we did was square root of 37. 37 is a positive number. That's why we had 2 real solutions. The second thing tells you that if the number underneath the discriminant is 0, you'll have exactly 1 real solution. If you look at the second example we did, we had 144 minus 144. We got 0. So that means there's 1 real solution. And then in the third example, if you get a negative number as the discriminant, you know you're going to have no real solutions. Or they sometimes might ask you to describe, and you might have to say 2 imaginary. It just depends on how the question is asked. And you'll see, they'll tell you. But you'll have questions on your WebAssign that says use the discriminant to tell something about the solutions, and I think it's multiple choice. If you don't, it doesn't matter to me that you get the question right by guessing. If you don't show me the work behind it, then I'm not going to give you credit for it. So this is the way that I want to see your homework tonight. For letter A, all right, I want you to write down the discriminant first, b squared minus 4ac. It's just what's underneath the radical. It's not the radical itself. And then I want you to tell me that A equals what, B equals what, and C equals what in letter A. What does A equal?
1.
A equals 1. What does B equal?
4.
And what does C equal?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So watch, put your B in parentheses, whether it's positive or negative, just so you don't forget. If it's negative, you don't forget to square it. So I have B squared minus 4 times A is 1, C is negative 1. So B squared is 16. What's negative 4 times 1 times negative 4?
Positive 4.
Positive 4. So I get the number 20. 20 means nothing to me, the value of 20. But 20 is what kind of a number? Positive, negative, or 0?
Positive.
It's positive, so that tells us we have 2 real solutions. That would be the answer to this question. So for letter B, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write down the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. And on letter B, A is 4, B is negative 12, and C is 9. So I have negative 12 squared plus 4. Why do I keep putting plus? Minus 4 times A, which is 4, times C, which is 9. We already did this in our example, but negative 12 squared is 144 minus 4 times 4 is 16, and then we did that 16 times 9 was 144. So what is 144 minus 144?
0.
0. If you get 0 as your discriminant, you know that you're going to have one real solution. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know you guys have seen this before, so. Again, some of you are like, I hate when she says that. I don't mean to, I'm not trying to lessen anything. I just know you guys have seen it before, so I'm not trying to bore you. B squared minus 4ac, that's my discriminant. So A is 1/3, B is negative 2, and C is 4, positive 4. So I have negative 2 squared minus 4 times times 1/3 times 4. Okay, it's a fraction. No reason to be upset about it. Negative 2 squared is 4, right? If I multiply negative 4 times 1/3, I get negative 4/3, right? And then I times that by 4/1. So I have 4 minus 4 times 4 is, so 16/3. If I change 4 into thirds, right? This is 1. So if I change this, I'd have to times by 3 in the bottom and then 3 in the top. So I get 12. What's 12 thirds minus 16 thirds? What's 12 minus 16? Negative 4. Okay? Doesn't matter that it's a fraction. Doesn't matter the value of it. The thing that matters is that this is a negative underneath the square root, which means what about my solutions if it's negative?
There's no real solution.
Perfect. No real solutions. Meaning, if I were to graph this, it would not cross the x-axis. No real solutions. Another way to say it is too imaginary, but I think on WebAssign they want you to say no real solutions.